You are being financially gaslit, and the culprit is not your boss, the unpredictable inflation rates, or even the fundamentally broken economic system you live in. The true source of this lifelong deception is the 3-pound wet tissue resting quietly inside your skull. The modern world is a highly complex, hyperstimulating environment, but it is being navigated by an ancient biological machine that was never designed for it. Your brain is operating on software that was coded hundreds of thousands of years ago in an era of extreme physical scarcity. When this primitive machinery is exposed to the sophisticated, weaponized algorithms of the 21st century, a catastrophic system error occurs. You do not fail to build wealth because you lack intelligence. You fail because your biology is being systematically turned against you by industries that have spent billions of dollars mapping your vulnerabilities. Consider a quick mental diagnostic of 2 distinct paths, starting with Dopamine Dave. Dave is smart, possesses a respectable degree, and works a demanding corporate job. Yet, despite his hard work and a steady paycheck, Dave watches his bank account bleed out every single month from 1,000 invisible microcuts. There is the $10 premium streaming subscription he rarely watches, the $30 food delivery that saves him 20 minutes of cooking, and the sleek, brand new smartphone financed over a 2-year contract. Dave does not feel poor. In fact, every time he clicks order or taps his card, his brain experiences a brief comforting rush of control and a temporary spike of social status. He believes he is enjoying the fruits of his labor. In reality, his brain is actively misleading him, trapping him in a continuous, exhausting cycle where maintaining his outer image remains incredibly expensive while his inner peace of mind is entirely compromised. Now look at the alternative path, Stoic Sarah. With the exact same income and living in the very same high-cost city, Sarah has executed a complete uncompromising system reboot. Sarah has recognized that in the modern economy, the easiest way to remain a slave is to care about the opinions of people you do not respect. She does not purchase temporary social validation. She invests strictly in silence. While the modern economic system is highly optimized to clone Dave because a dependent, insecure, and continuously distracted consumer base is immensely profitable, Sarah recognizes the architecture of the trap. She understands that the algorithm is designed to exploit her neurochemistry, and she realizes that reclaiming her psychological sovereignty is the only real way to achieve true freedom. To break the loop that Dave is trapped in, we must examine the evolutionary bugs that govern human behavior and realize just how easily our natural programming can be hijacked. To understand why intelligent human beings voluntarily trade the non-renewable hours of their finite lives for empty physical symbols, we must look at the primitive savannah. For 99% of human history, scarcity was the absolute law of nature. If your ancestors stumbled upon a wild fruit tree, survival dictated a very specific response. Eat every single berry immediately. If they tried to ration the fruit or save it for next month, it would rot, or a competing tribe would steal it. Because saving was physically impossible, the human brain evolved a simple, powerful protocol: consume everything right now, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. Your primitive brain has absolutely no concept of a digital savings account, compound interest, or long-term treasury bonds. To your ancient subconscious, unspent money looks exactly like rotting berries. When you have excess capital sitting in an account, your biology registers a persistent, quiet anxiety. It whispers that you must use this resource immediately before it disappears, or before someone else takes it from you. This is why, the moment you receive a bonus or a raise, an intense urge arises to upgrade your lifestyle. Your brain is trying to consume the berries to ensure survival, completely unaware that in the modern world, this very instinct is what ensures your financial starvation. Modern marketing departments do not merely sell physical products. They exploit these precise evolutionary bypasses. Consider the massive rise of buy now, pay later financial services. These platforms are engineered to exploit a psychological phenomenon known as loss aversion. Neuroscientists have discovered that when you hand over physical paper currency, the insular cortex of your brain, the same region that registers physical pain, is activated. Spending physical cash literally hurts. However, when you click a digital button, swipe a credit card, or split a transaction into 4 tiny delayed payments, the pain centers of your brain remain completely silent. the transaction is smoothed out to be entirely frictionless. You experience all the positive dopamine of acquisition with absolutely none of the evolutionary friction designed to protect you from resource depletion. You are biologically disarmed, walking into a market designed to strip you of your capital without ever triggering your natural defense mechanisms. To calculate the true psychological tax of this modern convenience, you must learn to translate digital currency back into the physical dimension of time. If you earn $25 an hour after taxes, a $100 pair of shoes does not actually cost $100. It costs 4 hours of your finite mortal existence. That is 4 hours of sitting in traffic, dealing with workplace politics, and trading your life energy to a corporation. Yet, when your primitive brain looks at the shoes, it only sees the immediate status boost. When you make the purchase, you are not buying leather and rubber, you are trading away slices of your future freedom. Even worse, you quickly fall victim to the hedonic treadmill. The chemical elevation of a new purchase fades within 48 hours, establishing a new baseline of normalcy. The shoes become just another item in your closet, and to experience that same chemical high, your brain demands the next upgrade, keeping you running on a wheel that never stops turning. This cycle is further weaponized by the modern subscription economy. Because a $9 monthly charge feels insignificant, your brain categorizes it as zero. But when you write down the real math and compound those minor leaks over a decade, you realize that a small bundle of seemingly harmless digital habits can easily cost you tens of thousands of dollars of your future autonomy. You are essentially paying the system to keep you distracted, using your hard-earned capital to buy the very entertainment that helps you forget you are trapped in a job you dislike. The system feeds you cheap dopamine to keep you numb, ensuring you never accumulate enough quiet capital to stand up and walk away. To disarm this biological trap, relying on raw willpower is a losing strategy. Willpower is a limited cognitive resource that depletes rapidly as your day progresses. By the time you are tired, hungry, and stressed at the end of a long workday, your willpower is entirely exhausted, leaving you completely vulnerable to the nearest convenience trap. Instead of willpower, you must build a strategic shield of physical and digital friction. If convenience is the primary weapon used to drain your resources, then friction must become your primary line of defense. You must actively weaponize your own natural laziness against your spending habits. Unlink your credit cards from your browsers, delete the autofill payment settings on your phone, and completely uninstall the instant delivery apps that allow you to purchase goods with a simple double tap of your screen. Force yourself to physically retrieve your wallet and manually type in your card details every single time you want to spend money. By introducing a mandatory 24-hour delay for non-essential purchases, you allow the initial dopamine spike to cool down. This simple delay gives your rational prefrontal cortex the time it needs to override the primitive impulse, saving you from a lifetime of impulsive, regretful decisions. Opting out of this consumer circus also requires adopting an invisibility shield. We live in a hyper-visible culture where social media encourages us to constantly display our tastes, our travels, and our material possessions to absolute strangers. But conspicuous consumption is a game designed entirely for the insecure. Fake wealth requires constant, exhausting maintenance. It demands that you continuously purchase expensive symbols to convince a crowd of onlookers that you are successful. True sovereignty is the luxury of being completely underestimated. When you adopt a lifestyle of quiet privacy, you instantly opt out of the exhausting theater of status. You stop buying things to prove your worth because you realize that your internal value is entirely independent of external applause. Your image becomes inexpensive while your actual assets grow in silence. Remember this fundamental truth: status symbols are designed to buy public applause, but silence is what actually buys your physical and mental freedom. This paradigm shift completely transforms how you view the act of saving money. You are no longer saving for an abstract, boring rainy day. Instead, you are actively purchasing units of your own sovereignty, building what is classically known as a fund of absolute autonomy. You must reframe every dollar saved not as a restriction of your current lifestyle, but as a direct investment in your future power. Every tier of capital you accumulate and protect represents a solid brick in a psychological wall that shields you from external manipulation. When you have a secure reserve of capital hidden away from the world, your posture changes. Your breathing slows, and your nervous system enters a state of calm security. When you are no longer one missed paycheck away from ruin, you gain the psychological power to look toxic situations in the eye and calmly walk away. You no longer have to smile at insults, tolerate abusive environments, or trade your dignity for survival. Ultimately, breaking free from this program poverty requires a level of psychological courage that most people simply do not possess. It requires you to make a deeply uncomfortable choice. You must decide whether you are truly willing to look poor and unassuming to the outside world in order to become genuinely free on the inside. Or, if you will continue to perform the exhausting ritual of looking wealthy on the outside, while the invisible algorithms of the system quietly own your time, your focus, and your soul. The choice is entirely yours, but you can no longer pretend that you do not see